worked out in the gym, and at night from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I went to acting class 4 times a week. So I did all of that. There was not one single minute that I wasted.
In 2018, I wasted approximately 1,456 hours. The way I did this was through social media. That's my general calculation if you look at my screen time over the last week. If we assume that it's actually lower than that, which it might be, it might not be. It might be less, might be 1,000 hours, but still, there's only 8,760 hours in a year. So effectively, I wasted around 10 to 16% of last year. Now, there's an argument that you could say that some of this was spent on things like my business, which is social media, and sort of podcasting and all that. We're pitching guests and all that sort of thing, trying to get guests to come on the podcast. But I just don't think that's the case. I think the case is that I spent over 1,000 hours scrolling my social media feed and just generally wasting time on social media and on my phone. Now, I'm unsure if I'm one of the really, really bad cases of this. So I'm unsure if some people would spend more than me, if I'm sort of around the average, or I'm sort of a lot more than most. I think going anywhere near those numbers is just not right. Because effectively, and I think we all know it, when you're spending time on social media, you are wasting time. A lot of the time you're wasting time. But then again, I think there's a big crisis nowadays because we cannot be teenagers or grow up in this age without having social media. You can try, but there's certain things you're missing out on. You're going to be invited to less things, you're going to interact with people less, and you're going to be seen as less normal. And I think, in general, there's a lot of resistance to staying off social media. Personally, I put a lot of content on social media and I do a lot on social media, so I'm not saying that social media is all out bad. But I think we sort of need to be mindful and realize how much time we're seriously spending on there and what are we missing. Because what time is it taking away? So I think a lot of people now miss those little times where you would think of those ideas. You would think of those things that are more interesting and unique. For instance, I think the reason showers generate so many good ideas is because you can't go on your phone in the shower. And maybe soon you can, but hopefully not. Because if you go on your phone in the shower, then you're missing out on that time where all you can do is just sit there. Obviously you have to do a few things, but in general you just have to sit there. And I think that time of just sitting there and thinking has been taken away. Because now when you're on the bus, waiting for the bus, going somewhere, doing something, waiting for someone to cook, you can just whip out your phone. If you're bored with a friend, you can whip out your phone. And I think that's an issue, because how is anyone going to get anything done if you can't focus for more than 5 minutes without looking at your phone? And I'm guilty of this myself. I'm extremely guilty of this, as we can see. But my thing is, how do we remedy it? Because 16% of my year, even if that's not the correct statistics, even 5%, if I spend the rest of my life spending 5% of my time on my phone, I don't think that's alright. 10%, even worse. 16% is absolutely atrocious. And I think that needs to be taken into account and looked at. But I think we're being robbed of this deep work. And I'm guilty of it myself. And that's the thing. How do we get it back? I don't know. I don't know how we can get it back, but what I do know for sure is that there were some beautiful things that happened in 2018. For instance, my podcast achieved over 1,000 views on one of its episodes. I also made a video that went viral on YouTube. I got over 15,000 views telling my story about scoliosis, and this helped me inspire hundreds of people. This is something that I seriously never thought I could ever do. I went to festivals, I went to my first drum and bass event, which was absolutely insane. I also discovered why my best friends are my best friends and what makes them so special to me. I read over 20 books. My favorite one of them was Ego is the Enemy. It is now my favorite book, and I'm just about to get a tattoo of the book on my shoulder. I figured out what it meant to be a bodybuilder and why I am a bodybuilder. Just because I'm small does not mean that I'm not a bodybuilder. This was actually the first year that I've ever felt part of a community. I now feel a part of the bodybuilding community. I feel like I can actually play a role and help others learn, help others feel happy and safe. I realized that I actually hated my degree. This sounds like a horrible thing, but at the time it made me realize, holy shit, I can do whatever the fuck I want. It just takes time, patience, and practice. There were so many other amazing, beautiful things that happened in 2018, And I hope that we don't sort of just look on this as in a negative way. We just need to realize that these beautiful things can't happen when you're wasting time. I couldn't have built a podcast. I couldn't have fell out of love and then back into love if I hadn't done this. If I just kept my head in my phone, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have discovered drum and bass. I wouldn't have gone to festivals. I wouldn't have become a bodybuilder. I wouldn't have inspired anyone. All I really want to say is please just go and do shit that you like with people that you like. Don't go on your phone. Try and avoid it as much as possible. Do shit that makes you happy. Do shit you're passionate about. Don't do a degree you hate. Just do things that scare you but that you actually want to do.